Welcome to the Fourth and Fast Break podcast. I'm your humble, delighted, and always blessed host, Joshua McCain. And on today's edition, Wednesday, July the 8th, we will be talking about the NFL, particularly when it comes to rankings. And the greatest show out right now in America, probably the world, is Love Island. Well, there's no episode on Wednesday, so I thought I would bring you my Lombardi Island compatibility rankings, ranking the top 10 teams who are most compatible with the Lombardi for the 2026 season. Lombardi Island top Lombardi Trophy compatibility rankings. We're going to rank 10 teams. We'll start off here with number 10. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, they traded their best player in Trent McDuffie, or the best defensive player in Trent McDuffie. They still have Chris Jones, but the defense isn't as consistent or physical as they had been the previous 3 seasons. Um, they did have some injuries, but it's time, as it passed them by, is Spagnola, who had some of the best blitzing packages and some of the more creative things on the defensive side of the ball. Are they done? And then Patrick Mahomes, he had to be Superman a lot last season for the offense to succeed. He had to do a lot of things off schedule. He did miss Rasheed Rice for 6 games, the first 6 games last season. Um, then he's coming off an ACL tear, and his game is predicated with the way this offense has looked. It's been predicated with him having to do a lot. Now they did add Kenneth Walker at running back, coming off a Super Bowl MVP, a good season with Seattle. But is that going to be enough for Kansas City's offense to get back to a level on which they're really good? And this is really a legacy ranking because it's Kansas City Chiefs, you know, a three-time champion since 2019. They have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo. So Chris Jones, I, I like what they still have, but I don't know if they're going to be right back in here. So our number 9 team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Eagles are coming on their fifth offensive coordinator in just many years. They have said that, former coaches have said that Jalen Hurts just handicaps the offense creativity. So the creativity you see in other offenses with motions and all different type of pre-snap motions and moving the ball down the field more, throwing the ball down the middle of the field. Jalen Hurts is not a big proponent of that. And coaches that have left there said he handicaps the offense's creativity. So can Sean Mannion coming from Green Bay being the QB coach, will he be able to, I guess, get Jalen Hurts on board with what he wants to do? I think they should have another top five defense led by Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Quinion Mitchell on the back end with Cooper DeJean. Zach Bond is still there. They are, excuse me, they did lose N'Kobe Dean, but I believe this defense is still going to be really good. They have really good pieces among up on that defensive line in the linebacking core and then secondary. So I think they're really solid everywhere they are. And I believe, in my opinion, this is another legacy ranking, because these are the two almost recent teams to compete in the Super Bowl. They competed just 2 seasons ago, and I just can't see the talent on both Chiefs and the Eagles roster. It's really good. And then the last question for Philadelphia: Is Devontae Smith ready to be a bona fide number one? Because now game plan is on you, Devontae. They're not going to let you get a lot of deep things. If they don't believe in any other receiver, it's going to be a lot of bracket coverages. Is Devontae Smith ready to jump into that role and show his, reason why he was a first round pick and why are they were comfortable with getting rid of AJ Brown? Now our number 18, it's the Detroit Lions. Now they have off-season distraction, but Terrion Arnold going through what he's going through, getting arrested. So going into that, and he was their best corner they had. So will they be able to get over that? And then they had a new offensive coordinator, Andrew Preston, coming from the Cardinals. They were missing a lot. Dan Campbell took over play calling for the offense last season, but they were missing something when it came to the creativity piece. They weren't able to really run the ball as well, and personnel, one, and then losing Ben Johnson, that could be another thing. And then they lose David Montgomery. They trade him to the Texans. Will they get back to a dominant run game? We know um, Jameer Gibbs is a really good running back. He's a top tier running back in the league. But can this offensive line get back to moving guys in the run game like they were in the 23-24 season as well? And they have a top five patching core. Jameson Williams, St. Brown. They have a really good tight end. This team is really loaded still in the pass catching game. So I think their passing game should still be really good. Jared Goff, he plays on time, he plays on schedule. The one thing where you can get the Lions offense in a rut on passing downs is when you get him off of rhythm. Yeah, he starts moving in the pocket and the offense bogs down. So that's my number 18, Detroit Lions. My number 17, and I hated I had to do this one, but I had to be realistic here. And that's the Chicago Bears. Now, all eyes are on Caleb Williams. He's on the cover of Madden. A lot of people are saying he's a top tier quarterback in the league. He's coming off the year of Caleb Williams, basically. Some great throws at the end of games, some great comebacks. Is he ready for all the eyes to be on him? Because this is going to be the first year in ever that the whole world is watching a Chicago Bears quarterback and have a lot of expectations on him. Shocking retirement of Drew Dahlman. Can that offensive line handle that loss? Because we know centers are basically the quarterback of the offensive line. They make all the checks, they make all the reads when it comes to pre-snap, pass, passing, pass rushing. So can they handle that loss? Because that is not a small loss, and he was an all-pro last season. Now they did have 144 and a half rushing yards a game last year. I think it's a top five duo between DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangas. So will they continue to have that same success? Because you are losing Drew Dalman, but you still have those two guys in the backfield. Can you just plug and play as another center? Um, and will it look the same? Now this defense, which was I think in my opinion wasn't really good, but they got timely stops because those comebacks that they made, you had to get stops. So will this defense improve? They had a shaky pass rush. They did lose Jaquan Brisker to the Steelers. Safety that's been in that system for what 4 years. They don't have they also lost they lost two safeties actually. They lost him and they lost Byard. So will this team be able to will they be able to overcome those losses? They have a shaky pass rush already. The fans wanted them to get more pass rushers. They swung and missed on Miles Garrett and Matt Crosby as well. So will will this defense be able to hold up? Because I believe the run game will still be there. Can Caleb Williams improve for the Chicago Bears' sake? You should hope so, because if he does and this run game's still good, this is going to be a dangerous team. Now, my number 16 on the Lombardi Island rankings, it's the San Francisco 49ers. Now, health is very pivotal for San Francisco. They've had the injury bug the last three seasons, and you really can go back to 2020, the year after they went to the Super Bowl, that a lot of these injuries have started. So they added Mike Evans, who's coming off of injury, which is crazy. Christian Kirk. Will this be the best passing offense in the Shanahan era? Because you have Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, Drew Pearsall, still have George Kittle. So you have weapons. Purdy has weapons, and Chris Sims he made a really great point, and he said on this podcast that Purdy isn't, like a game changer. He isn't a guy that's going to, change everything around him. He's a good game manager, but he's also not going to do anything to hurt your team. So Purdy's he's not going to lift guys up around him, but the weapons around him, he can, make sure that it stays, it stays at least status quo. So Brock Purdy, this is a really good, pass catching group in my opinion. They are on the older side, but you also have Christian McCaffrey in there as well. One of the best running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield. Now, Nick Bosa has torn his ACL twice in the same year, once in high school and then last year. Is he the same player? Can he be the same dominant player off the edge? The D line got deeper. Osei Adigizua from the Cowboys. They traded a third round pick for him. So that the interior of that line is deep. Um, so can the 49ers, can the defense, the line get back to what it was in their heyday of, getting to the Super Bowl in 19 and then getting to the Super Bowl again in 22. Well, excuse me, 23 when they lost to the Chiefs again. And now Purdy was hurt the last two seasons. Can he regain that, really good form that I just previously said he had in 2023? Because I think they have enough around him. Now we'll go to our number five team, our Lombardi Island rankings. It's the Denver Broncos. Denver's coming off an AFC Championship game appearance where Bo Nix did get hurt in the divisional round game. Late in that game, broke his ankle. He was out. That offense had a good first drive and then just never looked the same. And then the downpour of snow happened throughout the game as it progressed. So it basically just knocked out any chance of passing the football with Jared Stidham in the game. Is Bo Nix a game changer? Is he that much of a difference maker? Because if Bo Nix is in that game, a lot of Broncos fans and a lot of pundits believe the Broncos win that football game. Is Bo Nix really that guy? Because now you have a whole season of, hey, Bo Nix, I think he's in the upper echelon, the 15 to 11 rating of quarterbacks. Can he really step into that role of being a, big time game changer? They added Jalen Waddle, so Bo Nix has some help on the way. You still have Courtland Sutton, but Jalen Waddle's really coming in and taking over the wide receiver one spot, in my opinion, because I think you don't make that trade. You don't trade a first round pick if you don't believe Jalen Waddle's going to come in and just be a big time contributor. Now, Jeremiah Cooper, the one of the good pass rushers they have, he has some offseason drama. Can the team overcome the noise, just like the Detroit Lions? Can they overcome that noise? Because right now it's still being investigated between his whatever he's got going on. Um, they believe he's be able to be there, so he's going to be there most likely. Can they overcome that? Because it's tough to hear those things outside. Now the defense line is really deep. They have really good defensive tackles. Nick Benito's a star pass rusher. This team is, on the whole defense is just really solid. You have the best cornerback in the game, and Patrick Surtain. You have really good nickel cornerbacks over there. Riley Moss is the guy everybody goes at because I mean somebody has to be the weak link. We have to go after somebody, and it's usually him. But this secondary is really good. The defensive line's really good. I think their linebacker spot it's getting older, and they need to improve there maybe, but it's not bad enough to where it's like okay, you can really just take advantage of it all game long. So I think their defense is still really good and can overcome some of those things. Now we'll go to our number 14, the Seattle Seahawks, the reigning Super Bowl champions. And this might be, a little controversial, but is Sam Donald satisfied? Because the last two seasons have been the seasons of Sam Donald. In 2024, when he started with the Minnesota Vikings, a lot of people said he was a placeholder for rookie quarterback, and they said he was just going to be there for 8 to 10 games. They're just waiting ready for when, he's ready. And then he ends up having a great season, Pro Bowler. He was a really good quarterback. He didn't do anything to lose the game a lot of the time. Then he went and got a contract from Seattle. And then people said, "Oh, you're trading Geno for Sam Darnold." I don't know. And then he just goes out, has another really good season, probably better than 24 last year. And then he wins the Super Bowl. So is he satisfied or is there more Sam Darnold could do? Can he get better? And Charbonnet, he takes over as the running back, excuse me, running back one over from Kenneth Walker. Now, Zach Charbonnet, he's a bigger back. He a lot of time the goal line. So is he ready to take over for Seattle because they, they're heavy run team as well. They like to mix in a lot of run. So is Zach Charbonnet ready to take over as running back one? And then JSN, he's coming off for an offensive player of the year. Is he satisfied? The same question I have with Sam Darnold because now JSN is coming in and the Ohio State factory, a receiver factory. He's a top five guy. Is he ready for what's coming next? Because now it's from the jump, it's bracket coverage. It's hey, we're gonna allow Cooper Cup and those guys to really, we're gonna allow them to beat us and not you. Rashid Shaheed, JSN, you're not just you're gonna have to make incredible plays to beat us. Now Tyreek Woolen, they did lose him. They lost Kobe Bryant. So will that secondary take a step back because they were by far the best last season, the best secondary in the league. Will they take a step back? Still have Witherspoon over there, but will this team be able to? Will they be able to overcome those losses because their secondary really it really stepped up for the rest of their team. Now they have a solid team, but the defensive line, linebacking core, it's a solid core, but it's nothing to just write home about. And that secondary, they did a lot of work last season. Now, our number three team is a team that played in the Super Bowl as well. It's a team that lost it, the New England Patriots. And we talked about drama with the Lions and the Broncos, but this one right here is the most dramatic offseason storyline, which dealt with their head coach Mike Vrabel and his Diana Rossini thing. And that's all we heard about for months. They're still talking about, Diana Rossini. The New England Patriots have dealt with, drama in the past with Spygate, Deflategate, a lot of cheating scandals here. So New England, this is not uncommon, but once again, the Patriot way, something bad things just have to be a part of it. And this is part of the Patriot way is trying to deal with what they have going on off the field. Now, the addition of AJ Brown, my biggest question, does he still have the goods? He got traded for a first round pick. Is he still a bona fide number one receiver? Is he still a guy that can go out and catch 100 passes for 1,100 to 1,300 yards? Can he give you, 8 to 15, 16 touchdowns? Is he still that guy that we saw in Tennessee and we saw in his first season in Philadelphia, first two seasons in Philadelphia? Or is he the guy that we saw a lot last season where it was hard for him to get open? He did not look as quick and nimble as he used to be. He didn't overpower guys a lot. He wasn't able to overpower guys a lot. So does he still have that? Because Drake May is coming off a unbelievable season. Now this defense was very opportunistic. However, it was very lucky. They had a lot of games in that where it was just that game against the Texans. Any other quarterback in that game, the Texans are playing the Broncos in the AFC Championship and probably going to the Super Bowl because Bo Nix got hurt. So this defense can they improve? I think Christian Gonzalez, probably the second or third best cornerback in the league right now. So not worried about him. I think the other parts of that secondary is really good. But will they take another step? Will they be able to take another step? Will their defensive line become better? And then Drake May. He has moved to the elite category. He had an unbelievable season last season. He's coming off a Super Bowl appearance. His regular season was really good. He showed off his arm a lot. So now you're in the category of elite, and now you have expectations on you. So is Drake May ready for those expectations? Now you get your wide receiver one. They believe this is a guy that's going to be here longer than, because Diggs had a really good season last year. They believe this guy's going to take you for at least the next 3 years, most likely. Are you ready for what comes with that? Now, our number two team in our Lombardi Island compatibility rankings, the Buffalo Bills. Now, can they get over the top? They have the most wins in the NFL since 2020 with 83. James Cook, he's coming off a breakout season, and they added DJ Moore. So Josh Allen doesn't necessarily have to be just the Superman of this offense, and what he usually had to be. James Cook. Now you're asking, oh, you've added a running part of this game of this offense. So is DJ Moore being part of the passing offense? Does he help get this team over the top and kind of get a lot of the pressure off of Josh Allen? And then, of course, will Josh Allen have to be Superman to rule this offense? If that doesn't work out with DJ Moore, if James Cook regresses, if that offensive line regresses in the run game, does he have to go back to being Superman? And it's not like he's not capable of it, because we have seen it time and time again that Josh Allen is willing and ready to be Superman. And now the new head coach, Joe Brady, will he really make much of a difference in his new role? Because he's coming off of being the offensive coordinator, and he's been there, for the last 3 years. He's heard everything that came from Sean McDermott, you know, so he's on the staff, but is his voice really going to make a difference? Is what he, does, because he's still calling plays. So is he really going to make a difference when it comes to being the CEO of the team? That's a big question for Buffalo, because if it's the same voice, if it's the same things going on, different voice, it really doesn't resonate with the rest of the team. So I think with Buffalo, what they end up having, they have to do is they just have to do what they've been doing, honestly. They just have to find a way to finish. They just hadn't been able to finish any year since 2020. And that's the number one thing for Buffalo, just finishing playoff games. And now our number one team in the Lombardi Island compatibility ranking, the Los Angeles Rams. Now they added the reigning and best defensive player in the league, Miles Garrett. He's coming off of sack record of all time, single season sack record. He has been the best pass rusher in the league the last 4 or 5 seasons, if not more. So you had the splashiest move in the offseason, and I think honestly a top five splashy move. You had two top five splashy moves in my opinion, and you added one of the better corners in the league, and Trip McDuffie on that back end as well. So now you have Miles Garrett on the front. No Jared Verse, but you um, still got Miles Garrett. You still have really good defensive linemen across from Miles Garrett, and you have a tier two corner, which tier one is like one or two guys, and this guy is right below them. So you have a tier two corner in Trent McDuffie. Your linebacking core is solid. I think three levels on this defense is really good. I think they're going to have an elite defense this season, and it's going to look, in my opinion, I think it's going to look a lot like it did in 2021 when the defense was really, really good. I even take a step further. I think it looked like it did in 2020 when the defense looked so good they even got their their guy, the defensive coordinator, head coaching job. Now, Sean McVay, we all saw what he looked like in the post-draft press conference when we're talking about Ty Simpson, and a lot of people said he did not look very enthused. He didn't look very excited. A lot of people said he thought he could get a player that's ready to play now. Instead, it's going to be a developmental guy. He's going to sit behind Matthew Stafford, and the early reports are coming out, but so early they're saying he might be sitting behind Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo and or Stetson Bennett. So is Sean McVay willing to coach up Ty Simpson with all the expectations of a Super Bowl around him, or will he get you know, put down to the bottom? And can that be a distraction? Because I'm trying to coach the rest of my team, but my front office is going to want me to coach up Ty Simpson. Like we need to, we're coaching around Ty Simpson, but he wants you to coach, to Ty Simpson, and you have big expectations. Still have Devontae, still have Puka Nakua, so it's a lot of expectations over them. And then they're the Super Bowl favorites, but will they dominate? Because on both sides of the ball, you have so many weapons everywhere. Will they dominate? Because with all the talent they have, this is a key, like this is a recipe for being able to have a top three offense and a top three defense. Probably a number one offense and number one defense like not San Francisco, San Diego Chargers had back in 2007. So will they be able to just be a So those are our 10 teams on our Lombardi Island compatibility rankings. As the offseason goes on, maybe it could change up for a bit, but as of right now, those are the 10 teams most compatible with the Lombardi Trophy this season. So we'll have another episode Friday, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other.